So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna share a video with you guys that we put together that provides some history on how we pretty much got started. And then we'll go into our meet and greet or our stuff that we have prepared for you guys.
Akan culture has been in America since African people were enslaved by Europeans and brought to the Americas. The culture was maintained by adapting to the times based on the circumstances.
Everyone sees the video? All right, good.
Yes.
This can be seen in the language and culture of the African diaspora. For example, in the naming of the children or in funeral rites. Akom Kese was born out of the Akan culture presented by Nana Yao.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire, messages that forge brighter connections,
who in the late 80s and 90s organized weekend-long conferences at Howard University. These conferences focused on the tenets of Akan culture, namely the naming ceremony, puberty rites, marriage, and funeral rites. In addition to providing a venue to rekindle friendships and family ties. An Akom is a spiritual gathering of the community where the gods and ancestors are invited to commune with man. Akom is a Twi word that means to possess, and Kese is a Twi word for big. So literally, Akom Kese is the big possession. 25 years later, Akomfo Dr. Kwesi Amoah longed for the atmosphere that Nana Yao or Perry Dinizulu first established. He thought long and hard of how to recreate the magic of Nana Dinizulu and decided to organize Akom Kese. The vision was to create a group of people who would carry this mission. In 2013, Akomfo Dr. Amoah began having individual conversations with community members about Akom Kese. During these conversations, he sought to assess the demand and wishes of the community. In 2015, Akomfo Dr. Amoah organized the initial planning committee. This committee was comprised of himself, Akomfo Koshua, Akomfo Afua, and Akomfo Fofia. The intent was to resume a conference that was dedicated to teaching the community in the Americas about Akan culture. He specifically chose the word Akoa to describe the gathering because many of the shrines that have since come to America are not of Akan origin, and the term Akoa is more universally applicable. The planning committee convened in 2015. Subsequently, formal presentations were made to the major Akan shrine houses, requesting their participation and explaining the intent of such gathering. The first Akom Kese was in 2016 at Roy Wilkins Park, New York City. It also coincided with the 45th anniversary of Akans in America. The event was a beautiful occasion. In 2017, the conference was held in Washington, D.C. This conference focused on hearing the vision of the elders for the Akan culture for the next 50 years. The event was well attended and provided a time for our Akan nation to connect and reconnect. In addition to listening to the vision of the elders, the priests came together and created an agreement for their standard of behavior. In 2018, the format of the conference was changed from a one-day conference to 3 days. This allowed for greater interaction among participants. It was also hosted in Wilmington, Delaware, as this was a destination that was midway between two of the cities that have the biggest Akan communities, Washington, D.C. and New York. As a powerful accompaniment to the previous conference and its focus on eldership, a platform was instituted for the young people to have a voice to express their concerns to the community. Sessions were also conducted on songs and protocol. In 2019, the conference again was held in Wilmington, Delaware, with an eye on understanding and determining the role of eldership, There were also important sessions on the creation and maintenance of ancestral altars, relationships, and issues that were unique to men and issues that were unique to women. This conference also marked the first time a symbolic ritual was conducted from elders to young people. In 2020, due to the restrictions that were imposed throughout the country in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19, the conference was held virtually. This year, we will celebrate virtually again, and we are pleased to welcome our community to our conference, Saturday, July 31st, 2021 through Friday, August 6th, 2021 at no cost. Register today. We look forward to a powerful virtual conference.
All right, so that pretty much in a nutshell explains Akom Kese. So are there any questions for me right now? Anybody have anything they would like to say? Everybody's shy. All right then.
The video was great. I was surprised at how well it came out. It was really good.
So one of the things
of the history.
Huh?
I was saying it's a wonderful video, of course, and a great summary of Akom Kese. So kudos.
Thank you. So one of the things, one of the board members, Asamwa Sapong, is the person that did that video. So I want to definitely acknowledge him. The dude is a genius. I mean, he put that together. He really made it happen. So I want to thank him. He's not on the call right now, but he's one of our board members and he's one of the techie people. And you know, he did a couple of other pieces for us as well. So, you know, he's really, really good at that. So definitely want to thank him for his hard work. You know, he would text me 11 o'clock at night and like, okay, I need this. So I'm up like, okay, I'm gonna send you this. You know, we're going back and forth. He's a nighttime worker. So, or he does his work at night. So he'll text me at 8. And then like the other night was up until like 1 o'clock going back and forth on the material that we need for the presentation. So, but you know, like I said, the guy's a genius and he does phenomenal work. So if anyone needs some video editing, he's definitely a person that I would highly recommend. Okay. With that being said, we created a few poll questions that we want to use as icebreakers. So what I'm going to do is launch the poll and then give everybody an opportunity to respond to the questions. And then, you know, let's have little conversations about it. Can everyone see the poll questions? Yes? All right. Okay, we have 80% of the participants who have responded. Give it a couple more minutes. Okay, we got 84%. All right, I'm gonna end the poll. Is anybody else, please register your answer now if you have not. All right. So we're gonna end the poll and then we're gonna share the results. So 14% of you guys heard about us from Facebook. The overwhelming majority came from shrine houses. We have 3 first timers, so that's a great thing. We're always interested in expanding the audience. Please tell your friends and people that you're associated with. We want the community to grow. And again, this is for everybody. This isn't, we say secular, I mean, we're religious, but we're secular in the sense that, you know, we know it's really, we can't really separate the spirit from the business, but we try to, you know, deal more on a secular thing, but necessarily really providing a platform for everyone to be able to share. I mean, and that's what it's all about. It's really about sharing. I've probably said it 1,000 times. I believe that we all have pieces of this. And if we come together and share that information, we will definitely be in a better position because that information can empower someone. So I strongly believe that, and that's really one of the reasons, you know, why we have these events. So we have 23% of you guys have attended 3 to 5 events, and we have 9 people who can participated to all 7 events. So that's wonderful. And let's see. What is the major reason why you came to this event? 50% of you guys say you want to support Akom Kese. So that's a beautiful thing. We definitely appreciate your support. And with your support, we also like your financial support. So you can go to aconcenter.org and make a donation. That would be great. This year, with the board, you know, we went back and forth on whether or not to have to charge for the event. But I mean, we came to the agreement that, you know, this is our way of giving back to the community. You know, last year, you know, we did charge, and that was to help offset the fees and things that to be done for the Council of Elders. So, you know, this is our way of giving back to the community. You know, this is not necessarily about money, but we all know that money is needed in order for us to accomplish the things that we need to be able to do. So again, you know, please, you know, we definitely appreciate your emotional support, but we also would appreciate your financial support in terms of being able to donate what you can. You know, no one's saying kill yourself, just donate what you can, if you can. So, all right, having said that, Akoshua, you had something that you wanted to say to everybody? Nana Akoshua Bakan?
Okay. Actually, I want anyone else to talk. So anybody else want to share what they're interested in learning this year, or what they're hoping to gain this year, why you decided to come back and join us this year, your experiences from previous years, you know, talk to us about what you like about Akom Kese and what you want to see from Akom Kese.
Good morning, everyone. This is Amadoma.
Good morning, Nana. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Last year, I learned a lot from the workshops, but I also got to know people better. So I'm hoping that again, we'll get to learn more about each other and bond and share our wisdom as Kwesi had suggested. And just have a good time learning and sharing this space together. Even though we can't be in person, it's nice that people from so many different places can come together on this platform. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
Anyone
Marcy,
else?
everyone.
Hey,
Yeah, Kwabena Frimpong from Richmond, Virginia. This is my first time coming. I know August has usually been a busy month for me last several years with my kids. You know, they would be in different music camps and family reunions hopping off in August, but everything came together this year. So I'm just very humbled to be here. And I think in my 20 plus years, you know, in the Akom movement, I'm now looking at meeting more of the cons, you know, in DC and in New York, around the country, and just getting back to the historical roots, you know, of the culture, and looking at when it came into America, you know, during enslavement, what was said, you know, during the video, to the powerful work of Nana Yao, Nana Parabia, and just how this movement has really transformed me and my family, and how the ancestors have really blessed me. But it's really coming into just a full context of what's going on just outside of Richmond, and it's being in the family environment with people that I'll be meeting, and it's gathering more information about the movement and just breaking bread with people that I have not met before. So I'm looking forward to this. Madasi.
Cool.
awesome, Madasi. Thank you for sharing. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know a couple of people in Richmond, but I don't know you. I've seen your face, I think, on Facebook, but welcome, yay.
We were actually, I think when he did my alpha a couple of years ago, we was trying to come down to support that, but for whatever reason, we couldn't do it. But yeah, so but I'm happy to see you, brother. Thank you for coming.
Anyone else want to share?
This is Nana Adjua from New York. And one of the main reasons I get so enthused about Akom Kese is because every time I see everybody gathered together, I see the future. And that makes me very, very happy because all the things that people have done in the past, I feel that it will continue on and grow and be a support for our community in the Americas. So thank you very much.
So for those who don't know, Nana Adjua is one of the living legends of Akan culture. She is one of the first priests that graduated from Nana Yao Paradini Zulu in, I think, 69. So she is a very revered person. And
Nana Kwesi, me Pacho, this is Nana Nsia. I hate to interrupt you, but I want to correct you. She's not one of the first. She was the first Akan priest.
Okay, no problem. She's revered in our community, so that's what I was trying to say. But thank you, Nana Nsia, for the correction. So yeah, she's very humble and she doesn't say a lot, but she's a giant. So we are very fortunate to still have her around, and she can continue to teach us and pass the knowledge on to us younger folks, or not so young folks anymore, as we I'm talking about myself. I used to be a young guy. I'm getting old now, you know what I'm saying? No. So, but yeah, she's a giant in the Akom community.
I just wanted to add that it is because of her work and the work of so many other elders who came way before Akom Kese was a twinkle in anybody's eye. It was because of them that this has been able to come about, and we build what we build based upon the lessons that we learned from them. So Madasi Pa to you, Nana, and all the other elders that came before.
And also I want to say that Nana Adjua and all the other elders have been extremely supportive of what we're looking to do and what our vision was. We talked a lot, Kwesi and I and Nana, for when we first started about how we wanted to put everything together. And like the video said, we went to all the different houses and talked to all the elders, and the response and the way we were received was wonderful. It was so far beyond what we thought. And we had community meetings in New York and DC, so everyone can understand really what we're trying to do. And it was really, really good. But Nana Adjua actually was one of the people one of the elders who was very, very vocal. And I really, really appreciated her insight and her opinions and her willingness to share too. So Madasi Nana. And I'm going to close my window now.
We also should say Adonipa Busia with Nana Isi and Nana Adjua have been staunch supporters from the beginning. Whenever we've asked them to step up and to help us, they never said no. They never turned their back on us. There's never any excuse as like, oh, we can't do it. It was like, yes, okay. So I really appreciate them for being there for us and continuing to help us grow. So thank you very much. Anyone else would like to share? You can unmute yourself, that's fine.
Can we hear from some of the people who are here for the first time? I'm really curious to hear from you all. Come on now, don't be shy.
Jim, again, this is Abna. It's my first time here. I was invited, and I'm looking forward to learning more about the other shrine houses and being able to fellowship. So happy to be here.
Where are you from? You're from Florida?
Yes, from Florida.
Are you with Nana Sichi?
No, I'm with Nanaya. Nana Menaya.
Oh, Nana Menaya. Hi. Okay.
Cool.
Anyone else want to share with us this morning?
My name is Jennifer. I'm from the DMV, and I'm Ghanaian American. And what brought me here is I'm very interested in connecting with my Akan roots and looking for a spiritual community.
How did you hear about us?
Just like looking around on Google and seeing your faces.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Cool.
Anyone else? We have a lot of black screens I'm looking at today. I need to see some smiles, some faces, some cheeks, some teeth.
Greetings and good morning. This is Akom Kese and Yami. How y'all doing? I just got here. I don't know what, but I'm saying hi. My camera will be on later, but not right this moment. My sister. Greetings, everybody.
Good morning.
So that's it. What was I supposed to say? I just said anybody want to say things like the people introducing themselves. So
yes, and why you decided to join with us this year again?
Because I love everything. I love everything. I'm a comfort. If you don't know, I'm sorry. My name is Akom Kese. I am in the comfort. I love Akom Kese. I love the culture. I love the fact that we are coming together, that we are building our understanding of the presence of Akom in this side of the waters and connecting to others. And so, yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. That's great. Anyone else?
I'd like to
Good
share
morning.
something if other people are not going to speak. Many years ago, Nana Kofi Nkrumah, who was one of the first Akan priests who joined the ancestors, had a vision of all of the different houses coming together out in the field, having a big celebration. And I think to a certain extent, Akom Kese is fulfilling his vision. So I'm really happy to see this within my lifetime, because this is something that he wanted to see. And I'm sure he's smiling now from the land of the ancestors. But yeah, this is something that he had a vision for many years ago.
Nice. Thank you.
Just
Hi.
to add to that, oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Akuya, Doreen.
Oh, good morning. My name is Aquia Anima Doreen Brittingham. I'm in New York, and this is not my first time, but I started on other occasions, started having my family reunions or another event out of town. So I'm so glad that this is the format I can now attend and be there. So I'm looking forward to hopefully next year you're probably able to have it in person and also have a virtual format so that people still can attend if they can't get into the city. But I love seeing how it's growing and being able to meet more people and just keep learning and learning. I love it. Thank you so much.
Next year, we want to go to the Caribbean.
Oh, I'm there.
If the world is open back up, let's
The
do
world
it.
is open back up. Yes.
Based upon, I just want to piggyback off of something Nana Amadama Bediako just said. And I remember, I didn't think of it before, but I remember in at least 2 readings of the year, there was a reading, there were readings that said there was going to be a collaboration and people coming together who no one thought would come together. And I couldn't figure out what that meant. I never saw it come to fruition. But now that you made that comment, I'm thinking that perhaps this is what was being foretold.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
This is Nana Adjua again. I just would like you to explain, if you can, the words Akom Kese as you use it.
Akom meaning to possess and Kese meaning big. So we have a big possession.
It also means a large Akom, a big gathering of people in the form of a Durba where messages are given to the community and information is shared. So that's another meaning of Akom Kese as well.
And because we know Akom means to possess, so it's not just a spiritual possession, but actually possessing the culture in every aspect of our lives. So what does that look like, and how do we share information that way, and how do we interact with each other with that spirit of Akom within us? So it's possession on the whole, not just spiritual possession, but in our lives. Everything, every single aspect of our lives.
And I don't know, Ms. Paltrow, I'd like to add that Akom can be a very small gathering. If one of our Abosom wants to come and give messages, it doesn't have to be a whole lot of people. Doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of drumming and singing. But if they come and bring us messages, that can be an Akom, or it can be a grand, as in the case Kese. It can be a grand event with lots of different shrine houses, lots of different Akomfoheni, people who have different positions, the Densuni, the Abrafos, and all the different people that make the Akom work come together. So it's big. This is big. We have people from many different walks of life in the Akom tradition that are coming together for this. So it's very big. And I think we should celebrate the bigness of it.
So as I'm listening to everyone talk, so in Ghana or Tree is a tonal language. So, and Akoshua, I think, is our language expert here. She hates when I do that. I know, it's okay. But you can say one word and have a different meaning, or you can say it with a different accent or a different tone and have another meaning. So what everyone just did is a reflection of that culture in terms of how they describe Akom.
Thank you.
I just want to say that. Akosha, am I right?
You are correct, Kwesi.
All right, so we're coming to the end of this session. It is 9:57. The next session will be the presentation, the honor and the tributes for Nana Yao Paradini Zulu and Nana Akua Aparabia. So with that said, we'll take a couple of minutes, get everything queued up. Go guys, have a drink of water or whatever, something to snack on, and we'll be back.
Don't log out. Don't leave the meeting though.
But thank you. All right.
Akosha, I want to come in on my computer. Can you let me back in?
It will be either Kwesi or Nanama and she'll let you back in, sure.
Please, please.
Okay.
We'll be back.
I'll think about it.
Nana Encia, where is she at? She over there?
Yes, Kwesi, I'm here.
I see her. Mhm.
I'm here, Kwesi.
All right.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Oh, we forgot to acknowledge Nana AC into the room. I didn't see her. Good morning, Nana AC. She's founder, one of the heads of Anipa Busia. So we acknowledged Anipa Busia earlier, but I didn't see you come into the room. So greetings.
You should wait till everybody comes back because a lot of people are not here right now.
Okay.
Hi, Ama.
Okay, now I have my camera on. Get it together.
No.
Yes.
Hey, I'm into house retirement.
Don't even ask me that question right now.
That needs a breakout room session.
Yes.
I will let you know once I start feeling it myself.
Okay. We'll talk.
Yes.
It's 10 o'clock.
I'm waiting for someone to say, do you know where your child is? Because that's how it sounded.
I just sent you
Hello, hello, hello.
Yes, yes, yes.
Can everybody hear me? It's 10:05.
Sound is coming through, and so is the picture.
All right, then. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna ask everybody to turn off their video. Oh, I guess you can't see it. I can see your videos. You can. I'll turn them off on my side. No problem.
Be sure to put everyone on mute as well.
Okie doke. So our next presenter, so let me go back. So we're going to start our next session, which is paying tribute to 50 years of Akan culture in America. So our next presenter is going to be, or our presenters for our first presenter for the conference is going to be Okofo Panyin Insia. So I'm going to read her bio real quickly, and then we will go into our tribute. Okofo Panyin Nana Aba Insia Opari is the representative of the Okomfo Hene Nana AC Deni Zulu and Okomfo Hene Nana Adjua Opari, a senior priest of the Akan House on Nipa Busia in Washington, D.C. Nana Insia, a priest of the deity Nana Sergui, was a member of Nana Yao Opari Deni Zulu the first group of initiates in 1971 and graduates 1974 to the Akan priesthood. After Nana Deni Zulu I established the first Akan shrine house in Washington, D.C. in 1971, he placed in its care, maintenance, and leadership in the hands of Nana Aba Insia Opari and Nana Yao Odum Opari. In addition to providing leadership, care, and maintenance for the shrine house, carrying out the spiritual works of an Akan senior priest and facilitating the perpetuation of Akan culture for over the past 50 years, Nana Insia is the author of 3 books and an international trainer of adults and youth. Nana Insia is the mother of 2 daughters and the grandmother of 3. In reflection of living and perpetuating Akan culture for the past 50 years, Okomfo Panyin, Nana Aba Insia Opari says, "It seems like yesterday when I met this man who initiated the awakening that changed my life forever. I had no idea what it meant when I said, yes, I'll be a priest. Yet I'm so grateful that I trusted Nana Yao Opari Deni Zulu I to guide me on the path to finding out. Do I know all there is being a priest about Akan culture after 50 years? No. However, if I've learned anything at all, it is that every day is awakening. And if I trust, have faith, and obey, and Yami grace unfolds. All I have to do is continue to embellish the culture of my ancestors. I stand on the solid foundation of the past 50 years with excitement, expectation, and wonder as the blessings of the Abosun continue to unfold through us all."
Good morning, everyone. As my introduction stated, I am Akufo Panyin Nana Aba Insia Opari. I bring you greetings from Akumfuhini, Nana AC Dinizulu, and Akumfuhini, Nana Adjua Opari, who I represent as a Kumfu painting of the Onipa Busia Bosumfie in Washington, D.C. Today, we begin celebrating over 50 years of Akan culture in America and the pioneers who laid the foundation. I have the privilege of summarizing those accomplishments and foundation bricks laid by Nana Yao Opari Dinizulu I, which transplanted the Akan culture from Ghana, West Africa to America. Nana Yao Opari Dinizulu I, lovingly called Nana, was a blessed man sent by the Abosun, the gods, and Insamanfo, the ancestors, to revive and disseminate in America the lost culture of our Akan African ancestors. Few people parallel the contributions of Nana Dinizulu I in perpetuating Akan culture and heritage in the United States. As a young boy, Nana Dinizulu I's grandmother spoke to him about a land far away that he would one day return to and claim his destiny. As a young man, Nana Dinizulu I began worshiping the gods and ancestors of Africa during the early 1940s. His vision, which became his mission, was to create institutions that reflected our African traditions, history, and culture. He wanted those of African descent to know who we are, where we came from, why we are here, and where we are going. To that end, he left a legacy of accomplishments that continue to help us hold steadfast and faithful to the traditions of our African foreparents. The first organizations instituted by Nana to perpetuate African traditions and customs include the following. During the 1940s, Nana Dinizulu formed the Dinizulu Dancers, Singers, and Drummers, one of the first world-renowned African dance troupes. This company performed for such dignitaries and heads of state, such as Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, President of Zambia, Sekou Touré, President of Guinea, and Malcolm X. In 1947, Nana Dinizulu I formed an organization called the Ghanaians for the purpose of exposing African Americans to African singing, dancing, history, and culture. In 1953, Nana Dinizulu I co-founded the first African religious group in America, known as Dambalawedo. This organization perpetuated the culture of the Akans of West Africa and the culture of Haiti. The first African American Day celebration was organized by Nana Dinizulu I in 1964 and celebrated at Queensbridge Park in New York City. The flyer that is being shown is from a 1970 celebration. Before I list the following accomplishments, which are specific to Nana Dinizulu I's perpetuation of the Akan culture in America, I have to put those accomplishments in context with the following narrative. In 1965, Nana Yao Opari Dinizulu I, who was already a chief priest in his own right in America, made a journey through space and time, connecting the past, present, and future. This was a year that he took his first trip to Africa, knowing that he, quote, had to go someplace and bring something back, end of quote. Upon his arrival in Ghana, Nana Dinizulu I met Ni Ama Amontefiore, a Ga from the Accra area of Ghana. They became like brothers. It was Mr. Amontefiore who took Nana Dinizulu I to Kumbiase Latte to meet Nana Akua Opere Bia, chief priestess of the Akonade Shrine in Ghana. As they were driving up to Kumbiase Latte, Nana said, "You know, this place seems very familiar." Mr. Amontefiore laughed. When the two stopped at a place called Aburi, Nana stated, "I could have sworn my whole life was spent in that area." As they continued up the mountain to Kumbiase Latte, Nana Dinizulu I stated that he felt an extreme kinship to the area. After arriving in Latte and meeting Nana Opere Bia, Nana Dinizulu I stated that he was, quote, spellbound by being there and felt I had been there for at least part of my life and perhaps all of it, end of quote. In addition to meeting Nana Operabia, Nana Dinizulu I also met Nana Operabia's mother, who was alive at that time. Nana Dinizulu I stayed with Nana Operabia for some time, but had to return to Takoradi for a short while. When he returned to Late, Nana Operabia revealed to Nana Dinizulu I what had happened in his absence. Nana Dinizulu I was told that Nana Operabia's mother had gone into a trance of possession by Nana Atridan, a female ancestral deity from the Agona clan of Ashanti. Nana Atridan was one of the great founders and priestesses of the Akwapim area in Ghana. And when she died, she, quote, didn't die. She climbed a magic rope and went to the heavens, end of quote. During the possession, Nana Atridan revealed that Nana Dinizulu I was one of the lost sons who came back to take the shrines of Africa across the waters. And she, Nana Atridan, was part of Nana Dinizulu's first ancestry, along with Nana Operabia. Nana Atridan also revealed Nana Dinizulu's first family background, including how two of his ancestors were taken to the New World. That one ancestor, Nana Kwame Mensah, who was also an ancestor of Nana Operabia, was a very important priest. And when it was discovered that the men were missing, libations were constantly poured and prayers were sent up repeatedly, asking the ancestors from across the water to come back home. Nana Dinizulu I later stated that he realized he was fulfilling the prophecy and answering the prayers of his ancestors, when now his family in Ghana is telling him, quote, your ancestors are calling you, end of quote. After a great deal of divination, the elders of Late asked Nana Dinizulu I if he would be willing to take the shrine to America and take the ablutions and medicines necessary to do so. Nana Dinizulu I agreed. The first deity given to Nana Dinizulu I to bring back was Nana Asujbi, the Abrafo, the executioner and healer, who was a very important deity of the Akanade shrine in Late. The other deities that returned with Nana Dinizulu I included Nana Esi Ketawa, the peacemaker in Ochimi, and Nana Adade Kofi, the warrior and protector. In summary, Nana's accomplishments during 1965 include the following. Nana Dinizulu I fulfilled a prophecy of returning to Africa, learned of his heritage, met some of his family, and reclaimed his destiny. Nana Dinizulu I established relationships with Nana Operabia as family and as chief priest, respectively, which would enable them both to work closely together, propagating and perpetuating the traditional religion of their ancestors. Nana Dinizulu I was the first African-American to be given these sacred shrines of the Akan pantheon, Nana Asujbi, Nana Esi Ketawa, and Nana Adade Kofi, to bring to the U.S. Nana Dinizulu I brought these Apostle to America to be worshipped and revered by the African Americans, which laid the foundation and initiated the practice of the Akan religion in America. In addition to receiving the shrines, Nana Dinizulu I became the first African American to be given the titles in Late Ghana of Omanhene, King of the Akans in America, and the Akumfohene, Chief Priest of Akans in America. In the years to follow, Nana Dinizulu I was the first to be given other shrines of the Akan pantheon, including the sacred shrine of Nana Kanade Pani, one of the most powerful of all the gods of Ghana. When Nana Dinizulu I was given this shrine in 1971, Nana Dinizulu I was not only the first African-American to receive this shrine, he was also considered the owner of Kakonade in America. This shrine was given to him by the Asafo of Kubiase Late, who is the one in charge of Kakonade. It was not given to him by Nana Operabia. Then in 1972, during his visit to Ghana, Nana Dinizulu I was spiritually guided to find the original shrine of Nana Kumi in Nsaba, Ghana. Nana Dinizulu I was given this original shrine, which belonged to his family, to take back to America. Other organizations created by Nana Dinizulu I to assist in perpetuating the Akan culture include the establishment of the Basum Jemawoji in 1967. It was the first religious organization based on Akan culture and traditions of Ghana, West Africa. The incorporation of the Aims of Majawe Cultural Center in 1968. This center was established for the purpose of teaching the diverse and multi-ethnic cultures of Africa. Realizing that the customary rites of passage of the Akans are steeped in religious significance and are very important ceremonies that contribute towards the well-being of the individual and society, Nana Dinizulu I was the first to institute these traditional rites. They include the first Ararije, or Akan traditional marriage ceremony, performed in America by Nana Dinizulu I in 1968. The first Identoa, or the Akan traditional naming ceremony for infant child. This was performed in the US by Nana Dinizulu I in 1968 also. In addition to the first Ayiye, or traditional funeral rites, was performed in America by Nana in 1972. The first Yegorabra puberty rites ceremony, or the Akan coming of age ceremony for young girls, was performed in America by Nana Dinizulu I in 1982. Nana Dinizulu I instituted the profession of Akan priesthood in America in 1967, when he initiated his first priest, Nana Adjua Opari, whom he trained and graduated in 1969. The second person initiated as an Akan priest in America during 1967 was Nkobia Hene Ajabo Waldron. The first group of Akan priests was initiated by Nana Dinizulu I in 1971, then trained, graduated by Nana Dinizulu I in 1974. Since that time, Nana Dinizulu I trained and graduated many groups of Akan priests in America. Most of the African Americans initiated as Akan priests were initiated by Nana Dinizulu I, or by someone who was initiated by Nana Dinizulu I. If not initiated by Nana Dinizulu I, or by someone who was initiated by Nana Dinizulu I, they became aware of the Akan priesthood as a result of Nana Dinizulu I's efforts. Nana Dinizulu I was the first to organize charter flights to Ghana, West Africa, a practice initiated by him in 1971 that allowed hundreds of African Americans to visit Africa. For his inaugural trip, Nana Dinizulu I took over 250 people to Ghana. During his visit to Ghana in 1971, Nana Dinizulu I was the first to meet and sit in state with the Asante Hene of Kumasi, Otumfo Nana Otumfo of Puko Wari II. The Asante Hene is the absolute monarch of the Ashanti people. During his lifetime, Nana Dinizulu I sat in state with the Asante Hene 4 times, first in 1971, the second in 1972, third in 1985, and the fourth in 1986. Nana Dinizulu was also the first Akan American to be permitted by the reigning Agona Hene, Nana Yedom Bwache II, to enter the sacred shrine of Akumfo Ananche. This honor occurred during visits to Ghana in 1972 and 1986. This constant and unprecedented permission to visit the sacred shrine of the most revered priest of all Ghana, Akumfo Ananche, was granted whenever Nana Dinizulu I made pilgrimages to Agona Ashanti. This privilege illustrated the recognition and acknowledgement of Nana Dinizulu I as Oman Hene and Akumfo Hene of Akan Americans by all the distinguished kings and chief priests of Ghana. In addition to being permitted to enter the Akumfo Ananche shrine in Agona in 1986, Nana Dinizulu I and his people were permitted to enter the Akumfo Ananche shrine in Erekugwa, where the entire priest population put on a great Akom in Nana Dinizulu's first honor. Another historic and monumental first occurred in 1971 when Nana Dinizulu I arranged for Nana Akua Apia to leave the shores of Africa and travel to America as a guest of Nana Dinizulu I. This was such an important feat because chief priests were forbidden by their Abasum to travel more than 50 miles away from their main shrines. However, for this historic occasion and the family recognition being made, Nana Opeabia was given permission to travel with the Abasum and Impanifo. This accomplishment of Nana Dinizulu I opened the door and paved the way for Nana Opeabia to make later trips to America and for others to establish relationships with her, which assisted in spreading the Akan culture. This accomplishment of Nana Dinizulu I also made it possible for other priests and dignitaries to travel from Ghana to America for the first time as guests of Nana Dinizulu I. These priests and dignitaries include Akua Dankor, a Kung Fu Tanana surgery, traveled here in 1971. Akua Chetawa, also a priest to Nana Aspergeby, who traveled here to 1972. Jayesa Hene, Nana Dada Subahene, the divisional chief of Ashanti, one of the paramount chiefs of the Ashanti Jayesi clan, who came to visit the shrine and strengthen the development of the chieftainship and laws of the shrine. You see Nana Dada Subahene on the far right. And here you see Nana Dada Sobihini standing with Nana Akua Parabia and Nana Yao Paradini Zulu I. Nana Abena Dankor, the Obokwesi Akumfu of Akumfe Akrafa Sarpong, which is located in the central region of Ghana, traveled here in 1976. Nana Sewa, a powerful Adadi Kofi Akumfu from Ejisu Ashanti region of Ghana, traveled here in 1981. Akumfu Akosio Foriwa, a Nana Asi Akumfu, also traveled here in 1981. Nana Dinizulu I established the first Akan shrine house in Washington, D.C. in 1971 and placed its care and maintenance in the hands of Akumfu Abba Nsia Opari and Akumfu Yao Odun Opari, who were Nana's first initiates from Washington, D.C. and the surrounding areas. Nana Dinizulu I was introduced to the Washington, D.C. community by Nana Kwabena Brown, who held forums in his home where Nana Dinizulu I was invited to speak about the Akan religion and culture. Nana Dinizulu I was the first to establish in America the traditional chieftaincy structure of the Akans when he installed the first divisional chiefs. The first Ankobia Hene installed in America by Nana Dinizulu I in 1971 was Nana Ajabo Waldron. The Akonfobia Hene is the caretaker of the palace or the temple. The first Nifa Hene, the representative for the chief, Nana Kwesi Ajaman, was installed by Nana Dinizulu I in 1985. The first Karanta Hene, Nana Kwame Amante Denti, who served as the caretaker of the land and as heirs of the chieftaincy, was installed in 1986, along with the first Adanta Hene, Nana Yao Odun Opari, who served as the legs of the nation for the chief. While Nana Dinizulu I was the first to be given shrines of the Akan pantheon, in 1972, Nana Dinizulu I became the first and only Akan American to discover an ancient shrine previously worshipped by his own ancestors. The shrine discovered was that of Nana Kumi. It was the original shrine that belonged to Nana Dinizulu I's ancestors in Aburi in Sabah, Ghana. This original shrine was given to Nana Dinizulu I to bring back to America to be worshipped and revered. I have mentioned Akan shrines that Nana Dinizulu I received. In addition, in 1972, Nana Dini Zulu gave Nana Operabia the powerful shrine of Eshu to solidify the bond between the shrine in Kubiase Latte and the Sunje Miwoje in America. Nana Dini Zulu was also the first to institute and celebrate in America Akan religious ceremonies and festivals, including the Ojira, the Akan New Year Festival, first celebrated in America in 1968. In 1970, there was a Bimbe held in honor of Nana Asurjabi, Nana Dadi Kofi, and Nana A.C. Ketawa. The Akom officially took place in 1971. In 1972, the Nana Asurjabi Festival, celebrated in honor of the Obasun Nana Asurjabi, was instituted. In 1973, began the celebration of the Nana Kumi Festival in honor of the Obasun Nana Kumi. The Ahenada Festival, held in honor of the king, was first celebrated in America in 1974. The Nana Asua Bortapre Festival, celebrated in honor of the Obasun Nana Asua Bortapre, was instituted in 1981. Nana Dini Zulu's first birthright, his genuine love and admiration for African culture, and his institution building gained him much recognition in America and from Africans abroad. As a result, Nana Dini Zulu I was the first to be installed in Ghana, West Africa on numerous occasions and given 6 chieftaincy titles, including Omahini, King of the Akans in America, bestowed upon him in 1965. Akufo Hene, Chief Priest of Akans in America, bestowed upon him in 1965. He was installed and given the title of Mankrado, a divisional chief of Nsababori, which is located in the eastern region of Ghana, in 1972. In 1985, Nana Dini Zulu I was the first African-American to be installed as a divisional chief and given the title of Asimwahini of Agogo, and appointed chief representative in America of the Agogo state by Nana Akuoko Sapon, who recognized Nana Dini Zulu I as one of the most important kings in America. Nana Sapon met Nana Dini Zulu I in 1982, after being appointed by the Asante Hene to visit America on behalf of the Ashanti Nation. Nana Sapon is the paramount chief to over 200,000 people and more than 60 minor chiefs who swear allegiance to him as he does to the Ashanti Hene. In 1968, Nana Dini Zulu I was installed as the divisional chief of Adina, Elmina, located in the central region of Ghana. In 1990, Nana Dini Zulu I was installed as Ankobia Hene, or the divisional chief of Erakugwa, located in the eastern region of Ghana. On February the 10th, 1991, Nana Yao Opari Dini Zulu I began his ascension to the village of our ancestors in Samando. Nana Dini Zulu I's accomplishments, his legacy to us all, remain visible testaments to his commitment to African culture, and they enable us to maintain and continue to perpetuate Akan African heritage here in America. However, Nana Dini Zulu's first accomplishments are more than just a list of firsts. For each achievement, each recognition by African dignitaries, each ceremony, each priest initiated, trained, and graduated, each installment, each title given, each song sang, each dance danced was a foundation brick in the building, establishment, and perpetuation of the Akan culture in America. Those bricks were laid by Nana Yao Opari Dini Zulu I. They were the foundation of Akan culture that he left for us to benefit from, perpetuate, and maintain here in America. A culture that we must embellish, for as Nana says, and I quote, "We must embellish upon what our ancestors have done," end of quote. I close this presentation with a comment about Nana Yao Opari Dinizulu I's relationship with Nana Akua Aparibia. The vision of Nana Yao Opari Dinizulu I was to create institutions that reflected our African heritage and culture, and for those of African heritage to know and perpetuate the culture of our African ancestors. Nana Akua Aparibia's vision, we were told, was of lost sons and daughters returning to their true home. Because of the visions of these two chief priests, Akan culture and religion took root and flourishes in America. It was not by chance that these two, moving simultaneously on different spectrums of the same path, descendants of the same family, were brought together by the Abasun. It was the reunion of family from the past, acknowledgement and fulfillment of prophecies in the present, and merging of two complementary visions which paved the way for the two to work closely together in the future to establish and perpetuate the traditional religion and culture of our African ancestors here in America. It was the intertwined destinies of Nana Yao Opari Dinizulu I and Nana Akua Aparibiya to open doors for each other and support each other. For after all, they were, as Nana says, Abusia Bako, Mwaja Inso Bako, one family, one blood. Adasi.
Wow, that was so powerful. Thank you so much for that. The only thing that really comes to mind is informative and mind-boggling in terms of this presentation. I think it definitely puts into context the accomplishments of Nana Yao in terms of what he's done, and it also, that essential connection with Nana Akua Aparibiya. So I think I've said it before. I consider them the mother and father of Akan culture here in America. They work together to help perpetuate what we know now as Akom culture or Akan culture here in America. And I think that cannot ever be overlooked. Over the years, you have the Dini Zulu camp and you have the Akua Aparibiya camp. We're all one, we're all coming out of the same thing. And then we're all in the belly of the beast. So it's no need for us to be fighting each other when we have much bigger fish to fry. And so I would like to thank the Konfohenis, Nana AC and Nana Adjua for putting this together. Nana Intia, thank you for your beautiful presentation in terms of narrating this history. And we are always grateful. And I think, this information is going to be mind-boggling for a lot of people. So for those people who are not aware of Nana Yao Opari Dinizulu, really there's no excuse now for you not to know where a lot of this stuff came from. And then I say that in conjunction of saying that, Nana Yao and Nana Akua Aparibiya work together to get what we have together. And I also say that in saying that no one is perfect and nothing is perfect. But if you have trust in the shrines and you believe in the mission, things will always work themselves out. And they generally always do. So having said that, we also have a presentation for Nana Akua Aparibiya. So as you know, she was born in 1900. And the information that we have from her is really from her obituary. So we were able to put together a presentation based on her obituary. We had the Akom Kese board read parts of her obituary, and we put together a montage on her. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to show that presentation. And then after the presentation, we will give the Shrine House heads an opportunity to comment. So please bear with me. Let me cue up my screen and we'll go from there.
While Quasi's getting that together, I know I'm not the only one whose mind is whirling right now. I need a minute to absorb all that. You know, take a couple of deep breaths. I don't know about y'all before we get into the next one. What y'all think? That was a lot.
Put in the chat, I'm waiting for the book. Like, I need to see this in a book that everyone can purchase. So I don't know.
And especially since Nipa is doing the.
Please.
That's a fundraiser for the building.
It's coming. The book is coming.
Yay!
Yay!
That's very powerful.
Oh, there was a question, Nana Encia, that you might be able to answer. We were looking at the artwork in the flyers, and I assumed it was Nana Enyo that did those because it looks like her work. Is that correct? Nana Encia?
A lot of the hand-drawn pictures on the flyers was done by Auntie Alice Denizulu.
And I think someone put that in the chat also, yes.
She was an artist.
Didn't know that. I see.
I'm just sitting there picturing those. You remember those Xerox machines you had to roll like that, getting all those copies out. So every time I saw a new flyer, I'm like, oh my gosh, how many times did they roll those things out?
Someone also said something about the fare at that time, $350 round trip. Yeah, that was what it was. $350 round trip.
The advance tickets.
Imagine.
Were $2.
Yeah. But there were a lot of things that were different then, because when you got.
Oh, Nana, we lost your mic.
Saying that there's a lot of things that were different then. When you arrived at the airport, now you go to a nice airport that looks like Dulles, or some modern something, right? Back in the day in 1971, when you got there, you were let out in the field and your luggage was dumped out in the field. And then they used wheelbarrows to bring it up to a building where there were tables set up for them to go through it with these small little lights, so it's a lot different.
I remember, Nipacho, I remember when I went there, when Nana took one of those large groups, and the fact that, as Nana Izzy was saying, it wasn't like our present day airports where you can just walk off the plane and walk right into the terminal. They rolled this big, gigantic ladder to the door. You climb down the ladder. Then there was a bus that was there taking you from the tar pit to the terminal. And then from then, you got in these long lines that seemed to be unstructured, well, except for if you were Ghanaian, you head over to the left. And you got in these long lines because then they were viewing your passport and, looking through your stuff. And I remember they had like little little rooms where they would go and pat you down to make sure you wasn't bringing nothing in or nothing out. So, I mean, it was really amazing, going through all that. And when you had such a large group, we were there for hours.
Just to piggyback, my father was on that trip with Nana Yao Parry Denizulu when he first went. So he told me there was 2 planes full of people. It was Pan Am airline. And he told me they were there for 6 weeks. And he also told me that part of the trip, they did classes in Ghana. They took some classes in Accra or whatever the college was, University of Ghana. And then they went to Togo and Nigeria as part of that initial trip. So, which I didn't know. He had told me about it, but I recently spoke to him again about it. And he was saying, it was a, really powerful trip. So, all right. If there are any other comments, if there aren't any other comments, I would like to start the tribute to Nana Oparabia. All right.
Akom Kese Oparabia was born in 1900 at Ahuntem
in the neighborhood of Nkwansu near Adawoso. Both her father and mother were from distinguished royal families. Her father was the late Opanyin Kwame Akumfo Mensah Abusia Panyin of Abanum, Atawasan, and Oburi. He was a prosperous farmer. Her mother was the late Abo Yere of the royal families of Amansori and Akansen, whose posts are Ankobia and Akamu respectively. While she was yet a suckling, Akomfo Ama Anima, her aunt of Amansori, professed that under fetish influence, that she would be a fetish priestess who would one day be a high priestess of a Kongole shrine. Some of the events of her childhood might appear difficult to believe, but these testimonies come from eyewitnesses. It is hard to dismiss them as stories. When she was 7 years old, she was baptized at Adawoso Presbyterian Church and attended Adawoso Presbyterian Primary School after the baptism, ending at Standard 1, now Class 4. So, Okomfo Parabia was literate in the sense.
It was seen the prophecy of Akomfo Anima was materializing, for a parabia would be missing. Then she would suddenly appear without being able to say where she had been and why. Then a time came when she vanished altogether. When all attempts to trace her had been futile, some non-Christian members of the family consulted the shrine of a fetish priest, Ojayo, at Nkwansu. The shrine and Ojayo's village are still there, but have lost their popularity and prosperity. After there had been fetish drumming and dancing continuously for 7 days, she reappeared. This time she spoke and said she had been possessed and led away by the fetish Aquanetti, but her parents did nothing about it. By and by, Aquia Parabia grew into a very beautiful woman and got married to Kweku Anuma in the family circle. His father was the late Kwesi Inyarko.
Alert from low battery.
Kwesi Inyarko on the Nswam Adioso Trunk Road. Kweku Anuma was a prosperous farmer, while Parabia engaged in trading. But strange happenings, which still proved to be fetish, caused the marriage to break. Parabia went to live with her mother at Ahunten. There too, she used to fall into comas intermittently, causing her to sleep for long periods, sometimes days. Again, fetish consultations revealed that her behavior was due to the influence of Akunetti. She left her mother and went to live with her elder brother, Kofi Operi, at Dobro, near Ansuan. There too, it became obvious that the only solution to the problem was to send her to the Akunetti shrine. But then she needed to be sponsored. Fortunately for her and the family, her sister, the late Madam Tachun alias Akosua Pompo of Amansore, Ankobia House, volunteered and sponsored her, and she became at long last a priestess in training at the Okonadi Shrine. Cautiously enough, Akomfo Ama Asa, who later became high priestess at the shrine, was her senior priestess in training. Least was it known that Aquia of Parabia was destined to succeed her. They were trained by Nana and Kuma. She was not a priestess herself, but the daughter of Ajo Komfo, high priestess. She had lived at the shrine with her mother. When Ajo Komfo died, she was made to take care of the shrine.
After her qualification, Akomfo Aquia Opare who later became Akom Hema Oparabia, started to practice at Dobo, her elder brother Kofi Opare's place. 3 years later, she moved and settled at Nkonkron, her father's village on Ebui and Sawam Loi Road. It was at Nkonkron that Akomfo Equia Oparbia came to the limelight. There she built a shrine for Akonadi, and soon she rose to fame in leaps and bounds. People came from far and near, and from all walks of life, to her shrine for oracle consultations and for healing. To the Akonadi shrine, she added the fetishes Esiketua, Esojabi, and Tigre. Her sacred stream was Esuo Zache. In addition to the oracular consultations, Akomfo Hema cured diseases of all kinds, ranging from serious physical and mental disease, charms, as well as childbirth and common diseases like fever in its different types. She cured madness, barrenness, impotence, epilepsy, snake bites, stomach troubles, witchcraft, pregnancy, and maternity care. She freed people who have been cursed and those who were tormented by unseen forces and spiritual complications. Every true fetish priest or priestess, apart from a shrine, sacred groves, and sacred streams and wells, have a group of elders who are his or her counselors and supporters and courtiers. In addition, there is a staff of drummers, singers, dancers, and waiters. Members of Akomfo Hema Equia Oparabias and Kumkum Akonadi Shrine were her brothers, sisters, and cousins. Chief among them were Kofi Opare, Kweku Opare, Kwesi Opare, and her own sister, Auntie Sisi, who deserves the singular honor of having been her closest personal attendant and confidant during her training, for passing out in everywhere Akomfo had been thereafter, till her passing away. The pillar behind Akomfo and these elders and courtiers was the late Nana Osai giant, Oduntunhene of Akwiapet. With these elders, Akomfo Hema did not dispense physical and spiritual matters only, but social and economic aspects of life. Help the poor and resolve civic and matrimonial troubles.
Akomfo Hema was a capable and effective trainer of newly possessed fetish priests and priestesses. At the Nkonkron Shrine, she trained hundreds of priests and priestesses methodically and thoroughly. When they passed out, she posted them to places and they worked under her and in association with her shrine. They reciprocated her love, her care, and her concern for their success and prosperity. Eminent among them, and who have them, are Akomfo Mono, Abuya Manfo, Akomfo Akuyasi, Suhu Mantra, Akomfo Koko, Akomfo Adjua Deborah, and the cripple Akomfo Anua, alias Anu, who uses crutches, but who, when possessed, would throw them away and dance, whirling around and around amidst applause and amazement. Akomfo Hema Akwiya Parabia was meek and humble and observed the cultural practices and fetish systems of the Akonadi Shrine. While she was definitely on her own and well established at the Nkonkron Shrine, she did not regard herself as self-sufficient. During the annual Yam festivals of Akonadi, she came home with a large retinue to join Akomfo Amansa, the high priestess, for the celebration. She brought all the necessities required for the festival: sheep, yams, palm oil, fowls, eggs, bowls of salt, etc., and logs of firewood, esya. Indeed, it is true. Whatever a person sows, he would reap. By By her patronage of the Akonidi Shrine at home, Akomfo Queer Parabia was popular, highly respected, conservant, and up to date with what went on at the shrine. It was no surprise, therefore, that Akomfo Ama-Ata, the high priestess, when on her deathbed, sent for her and said her final words.
Wonders do not end. One of the traditional beliefs is that when a fetish or juju crosses on the high sea to the other side, it is rendered powerless and ineffective. For the gods of the sea would block her way and take away its power. Hima, a queer parabia of Akonide, gave the lie to this. In 1971, an Afro-American, Denny Zulu, with apology, researcher had revealed to him that his ancestors came from Ghana, came all the way to the Akonide Shrine for an ocular consultation. Having heard of the shrine, the consultation was a success. Denny Zulu was directed to his ancestral home through divination. When he checked on it, it was a truism. He was completely overwhelmed. Before he left, he requested permission to establish an Akonide shrine in the USA. He invited Akomfo Hima to visit the US. Zulu requested and took the Ghanaian name Yao Opari and became Yao Opari Zulu. He was given sacred water from the shrine to do so. Akomfo Hima, a queer parabia, courageously accepted Denny Zulu's invitation to visit America. She left the shores of Africa and flew to the States and performed. There, she has established the Sejabi, Esiketua, and Tigray Shrine in New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., California, and Toronto. When returning, she brought young males and females to train at Akonide Shrine. Some have passed out and been posted back to their shrine. Others continue to come over. Hima made several yearly trips to America to sustain the shrine.
So thank you. That's our tribute to Nana Queer Parabia. That information came from her obituary, for those who were wondering. Again, the board, we all took a part of it, read it, and then we had Sapong put together the rendition of that. So very thankful to everyone who contributed to this. We don't know a lot about her, but she does play an important role in Akan culture life here in America because of the connection with Nana Yao. And we definitely wanted to highlight that. So thank you again. And at this time, what we would like to do is recognize any shrine house elders or heads of shrine houses who would like to comment on the tributes to either Nana Yao or Nana Queer Parabia.
Paucho.
Unmute yourself. Okay.
This is Nana Kofi Asino Boache. First, I want to congratulate and praise the Akom Kese people, all the staff and members who put this conference together and these outstanding tributes. It's very important that people know the history and how things started, because this isn't something that just fell out of the sky and boom, it was there. So I thank you. I thank you for your good work.
Madasi.
I'd like to add something to the history about Nana Aparabia. In 1971,
11 o'clock.
in 1970, yeah. Shall
I'm
I?
sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In 1971, Nana Yao Opari Dinizulu the first organized a charter flight to Ghana, West Africa. I was a DC-10, 250 people on that plane that went to Africa. Some went to Nigeria, but most went to Ghana. When we arrived at the airport, Nana Opatabia was waiting for us. Nana Dinizulu had made arrangements for places for people to stay, but she was there with a bus and took us up to Lache, which became our headquarters for the time that we were there. And she facilitated us visiting several other shrines and a festival of Komfo that was held while we were there. And that visit had a tremendous effect on the spread of traditional African religion in America and the Akan tradition in particular. As I said, it was 250 people on that plane. We did it again in 1972.
So we got living legends among us, guys. And so we need to pick their brains and get all the information we can so that we can continue to pass on the legacy and the information to our children. Thank you, Nana Kofi.
I see that now.
And that was a lot of information too. I don't know. My head is really whirling right now. It really, really is.
So we invite the Panifo to comment or to add to the information. Everything helped, and whatever you're interested in sharing.
The inside scoop.
This is a sharing platform. We want to share the information so that people will know. I think the information is complete in terms of it does tell a whole picture, but I'm sure there are always little nuances that we probably miss or just aren't aware of. So for example, knowing that Auntie Alice was an artist, I didn't know that either.
And also feel free to share your personal stories because like Kwesi said, we have a lot of people here on the call and on our Zoom that were part of those trips. So please feel free to share your personal stories. Auntie Sarah shared her story about the airport back in the day. So please feel free. Does any of the younger people have any questions of our elders? Anything you always wanted to know about Nana Dinizulu and Nana Aparabia that you want to ask?
Yeah, I have this is Kwabena from Poem from Richmond. And I tell you, this is the stories that I'm hearing and the videos are just really powerful and transformative. You know, there was a lot going on, you know, back in the 60s with the Black Power movement, Civil Rights movement. But I just wanted to just ask the questions to the elders with all those different things going on. What specifically lured you or attracted you to more of the cultural side of the movement? That we see the Civil Rights movement, we see the Black Power movement, but very little is said or described about the cultural nationalist movement, the work that was done by Nana Yao, Oba Surge Motor Femi the First. But what attracted to you to this movement as opposed to some of the other things that were going on back in the 60s? Madasi.
Me, Pacho, this is Auntie Sewa. I know when they were reading Nana's story, Nana, for me, Nana introduced African culture through dance in the projects. We grew up in the projects in Queensbridge, and Nana lived on 10th Street. I was on 6th Street. Mommy AC was on the other side of 10th Street, and Auntie Anum, Mommy Barkine, and we during the summertime when they had the PAL Police Athletic League, we would have summer programs where kids were, kept occupied. And Nana did that through dance. And we would go down into some of the buildings had like a cellar where you go and there were rooms down there. And we were taught with Barbara Surgeman, we were taught about African culture as well as dance. So my introduction to the culture was through dance. And from there, it just, spread. And each time we were exposed to it, either by even when other groups, when they had the world, what was that? The World Fair down in, I can't think of the name, the World's Fair, I'm sorry. And they would have different groups and so forth. We would go down there and just be associated just with seeing Africans, because for a lot of us, only knowledge that we had of Africa was like on television with Tarzan, which was in Florida, but you really didn't have that much exposure to what African culture was all about. So for me, I was introduced through there, and it just grew. I remember times when we would dance on Wonderama, which was a program back in the 1960s, it was a kids program. And it was like hundreds of young adults that we performed, and so for me, I want to be redundant, that was my introduction. That was what motivated me. And the more I danced, the more, I wanted to know more. And I remember we were in Jacob Reese Center. That's where we moved to once we came out of the PAL Public Police Athletic League program. Nana would hold dance class in the Jacob Reese Cultural Center, where many people, had other activities there as well. And I remember the first time that Nana introduced having what we would call now was the introduction to Akom. It had candles there, it was dark. A lot of us did not go in because we didn't know what the heck was going on. But, we were young, we were 10, 11, so forth and so on. So, but back then he was starting to introduce more than just dance, the religious side of the, of the Akan culture. So for me, that was my introduction.
I'd like to ask a question of the elders, if I may. So from what I understand, many of the elders decided to become priests or made that transition as teenagers, right? So how did you deal with that with your families, right? So we talked about, Kwabena mentioned that there was a lot of things going on in the civil rights movement, a lot of political stuff. So how did you deal with talking to your parents about wanting to do that African stuff, in the midst of everything else that's going on, and making that distinction, pulling yourself outside of your family to do that?
This is Nancia. Good question. Both of them were good questions. I think it was very good in terms of what drew. I just want to say something really quickly about what drew me towards the culture, and probably a lot of people. Divine intervention. Just like with Nana Dinizulu the First going to Ghana and meeting Ni Montefiore, who took him up to Kubi Asile. If that hadn't happened, that was all divine intervention. That was all planned as part of the destiny. Because if it hadn't happened, we wouldn't even be having these conversations right now. And the same for us coming into the culture. I'm a product of the 50s watching dogs bite people go over to school. I'm sitting there with my parents. They're making decisions then about how I'm going to show up when I get to school in the 60s. And then when I'm in the 60s, you know, there's sit-ins. I go to all white, predominantly white school, but we sit in, you know, and the band Panthers are starting and all this stuff is going on. But I'm out of school. I'm in DC. I go into an African shop. Zaro's was owned by Nana Kwame Brown and his wife at the time. We're talking about African culture. They invite me to some meetings. I go to some meetings that are held in Melvin Dill's house. He starts talking about the African religion and everything started clicking. It made sense to me. You know, it was more than just economics. It was more than just politics. It was now this cultural piece and it was all making sense to me. And then, you know, from there, I'm going to Combs and, you know, history then went on. So a lot of it, divine intervention where you pulled in the right spot, hear it, it clicks and makes sense and we go. Parents, oh my God, my mother was having a fit. You know, her whole thing was she was coming up when the Muslims were becoming big. And what was happening with the Muslims is that if you weren't a Muslim, you didn't associate with your family. You know, that was it. They kind of broke away. And that's what my mom was used to. So when here I come talking about this African religion, she's like, whoa, what are you talking about? Because she's thinking she's getting ready to lose me as a daughter. I'm getting ready to go somewhere else. And I'm telling her, trying to show her, no, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. She's still kind of leery about that. Then when my hair, which she, you know, as my mama has been taking care of all her life to get to grow. And now I'm getting ready. What is going on with you? You know, no. So she's about to have a fit, you know, and so she goes through the process. But I say all that from having a fit to me going through it. She stuck by me. She was there at my graduation, crying the whole time, but she was there, you know, and coming through all of those changes to the point of me now as a priest, when things were occurring in my family, she was calling me for assistance and she was calling me to ask. And she was explaining things that was happening to her. She was talking about how her father, after he passed, how he, you know, he came to her and talked to her and showed her something she needed. So she grew from a place of like, oh my God, to appreciation, you know, and respect for what it was. But it was its own, you know, own process, but each year, but she respected it. You know, she respected it. And we went through it. And my dad was just like, okay, babe, whatever, you know, I'm here for you, you know. And that's how they were, you know, our marriage was held in New York City. Nana did it, Denny Zulu first did it there on Crescent Street. Didn't know any of these people. Everybody was there, but everybody treated us like family. My family was there. They didn't know what was going on. My mom still cried behind me the whole time, got married, you know, but nevertheless, you know, they came to bless it and came to appreciate it. As I grew and she saw what was happening with me and my own spiritual elevation, my own self-elevation, then she realized that, you know, it was all good.
Thank you for sharing. Oh my gosh.
I have a question.
This is Auntie Ansa.
Oh,
I agree with Nana Ancia. You know, my grandfather in South Carolina, he was a roots doctor. And as a child, I used to go and he used to heal people with all of his herbs and so forth. And I'm so sorry that I did not follow in that vein. But however, when I was 12 years old, he said, out of all of his grandchildren, that I would be the one who would follow the culture. And I looked at him and I said, what is he talking about? But anyway, as I grew up in the church, it just didn't seem right for me. And I remember I was living on Harvard Street in Washington, D.C., and this was like in 1969. And a young woman who lived in the building said, you know, a prince, an African prince is coming to town. Let's go see him. And so I said, oh, okay. So we went, and I knew that at that point that it was in my DNA and my destiny. And and I looked around and she was nowhere to be found, and I was hooked. And I lived in a building, 1650 Harvard Street. And it was a very political building because Kwame Ture and Bob Brown and a lot of the all African people, Revolutionary Party's people lived in that building. And they went the political route And Kofi and I, we went the spiritual route, and we knew that we had found home. This was something that we wanted to participate. We wanted our children to be a part of. And now, in terms of my parents, they just didn't understand. And especially when I became, went into training, Aunt Geneva said, "Oh my God, you look like a pickaninny. Oh my, what are you getting into?" And they were just really not, on board with it. But I was persistent and consistent, with it. And as the years passed on, I remember when I graduated, my hair was down my back, and they began to cut my hair. And Aunt Geneva came over and said, what are they doing? Why are they cutting your hair? It's so beautiful and everything. I just don't understand. And they had to actually ask her to move back because the one thing that my father said, and it brought tears to my eyes. He said, we were wearing traditional clothes each and every day. And I was a professional. I worked at the university, and it was very interesting because we stood out. We stood out as we wore our clothes every day. And I remember my father saying to me, "I don't understand much of what you're doing, but I do know that you and the children are doing very well. And I'm really proud of you." And that really brought tears to my eyes. And so as they began to see how we were consistent in terms of what we were doing, and that, we were living a spiritual life, they began to understand. I remember when I got married, they said, "No, we're not going to come." And so I brought their clothes over, and I said, "Well, I hope that you come. I love you, and so here are your clothes." And they showed up. They showed up, and my father was walking around saying that he was the chief. And and to this day, I had this picture right in front of me of me and my father, dressed in his traditional African clothes. And so it just really warms my heart. And that I have, I've raised my children in the culture. I'm now raising my grandchildren in the culture. And if Nana had not done what he did, and we would not be here to share all of this beautiful history about who he was and what he did and how he raised us. And I'm saying that because he raised us. And we were young. We didn't know a whole lot about what we were doing, but we followed. It was like the Pied Piper, and we followed his every lead. And I know some of us, including myself, we were rebellious at the time. I said, this is not what I want to do in my life. And here I am after all these years. And so I'm so very blessed to be in Akomfo. I am so very blessed to be in a position where, I can help other people. And people do come to us. A lot of times they don't understand particularly who we are and what we do, but they know that we are there to assist them, and they continue to come. And so I say Madasi to, to all of you who are putting this together, and it's really beautiful. And I say thank you.
You.
She's for sharing, Tiasa. That was happy. My eyeballs over here getting all moist. I don't know what's happening.
Greetings,
everyone.
Sister Pacho, I'm sorry, but Sister Abimbola Wali, she had her hands up. Can she go before you?
Madasi, greetings, family. This is Opinion Abimbola Wali. And when Nana Kosua Bakan asked that question, I had to reflect back 43 years ago and just share my experience with Nana Oparabia. In 1969, I became the member of the East organization. and was introduced to Bobby Shangi, Razaki Shangi, who presented African culture classes, and I attended every week. And through Bobby Shangi, I was introduced to Nana Oparabia. Now, when I was at the East, I was introduced to the African tradition, but through the Yoruba culture. And I had all these questions and they couldn't answer those questions. And then I was like, well, if we came from Africa, why are y'all dealing with Cuba and Cubans? Why not go directly to Africa? And so when Bobby Shangi, when Nana Oparabia came to Queens, to Bobby Shangi's house, it was like an eye-opener. Wow, this is original. I can go to Africa. I can actually experience the direct culture as opposed to going through Cuba. So it was just wonderful. And then through there, I met Nana Ansar. I was married in 1972. And Nana Ansar was part of the ceremony in my marriage. And then from there, then I had a child, and that was when in 1978, I decided that I wanted to embrace an African value system and raise my child under that system. And that's when I decided that I wanted to become a part of the Akanade Shrine. And so Nana Oparabia offered me to become an Akomfo and train, because at that time I had M-Pesi. And I said, no, I didn't. I just wanted to become a part of the Shrine family. So I was blessed. Nana Oparabia gave me my marks. I have my marks by my mother, Nana Oparabia. And so 43 years later, and then of course, like I said, I raised my daughter. And but just wanted to share something with the family in terms of Nana's power. So I had M-Pesi, and she said, no, you shouldn't have M-Pesi unless you're training. And so, and at that time, my then husband, Mensa Wali, he had M-Pesi. And so she cut his M-Pesi. And she asked me if she could cut mine, and I said no, because she was over across the water and this was my protection here. Well, I want the family to know every day after I said no, I would wake up and my locks would be on my pillow until all of my hair fell out. I want to tell you the power of Nana Oparabia. And so after Nana Oparabia, she gave me my marks. And then when she went back, she left Nana Nsia, and then I was under Nana Nsia's leadership. And then when Nana Nsia left, then I became a member of the Obatapa House of Hope with Nana Bakan. But and I did go back and forth to Ghana. I did go to Latte. My daughter went, and at the age of 9, she went to the shrine, and Nana Oparabia said, what's your mission? And you know, my daughter said, I want my marks. And I was shocked. And Nana Oparabia gave my daughter her marks. So I just wanted to share that with, you know, the family. And then one other question that I had that I've been conflicted with for many years. I've been to Ghana, and I've been to Ghana with a lot of the family from Onipa, from Nana Denny Zulu Shrine. And so with this here, the video with Nana and knowing the different shrine houses that he belonged to in Ghana, now I have an understanding, because I couldn't understand how when members of the Denny Zulu family go to Ghana, they don't go to Latte. So now I do have a better understanding that there were different shrine houses that Nana Denny Zulu was affiliated with. But I have been conflicted with that for a long time. So I received my answer today. So thank you, and I'm complete.
Medasi for sharing, Mama Bambola.
Me Pacho. Oh, I'm sorry, Coach.
Go ahead, Kwesi.
All right, so I want to say two things. Auntie Dooku has her hand raised up, so we'll recognize her. I also wanted to say, for the people who started and went into Akom in the early days, this also was a form of protest. So you had a lot of the Black Panther movement, you had a lot of those issues that were going on with the turmoil in the community, and the way this protest formed or started was that it went into the religious thing as a way of rejecting mainstream culture. So although it's religious and cultural, it also was a form of rejection of the mainstream society in terms of what they said you needed to be and how you needed to be. So, you know, I think it's the same path, but the way it diverged when it's still in that form of protest. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation. And with that, we can recognize Auntie Dooku.
Ms. Patch, I think Auntie Amadune was before me, so
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see her hand raised up. So if you want to be recognized, just press the reaction button to raise your hand so we can see who would like to speak.
I just wanted to say I'm just blessed and grateful right here where I am. I had the most marvelous mother. So when Auntie Ancia talks about divine intervention, I came about as a very young girl to the organization. I was probably about 9, but my mom had a African dance group in the community of Southeast Washington. And we performed all over Washington, DC, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and a bunch of other places. So I was always in African culture. And we were performing one day around 13th Street Southeast, where we got a flyer that there were going to be some African dance group on 11th Street Southeast. And I was so excited, and my mother was very excited because she wanted to go see the African dance group. Maybe we could learn some more things. And we got around the corner, and that's when I met Nana Yao, Nana Insia, Nana AC. I mean, oh my God, they didn't look like the African dance group that we were looking for, but we walked in, they embraced us. There was a bunch of people with Kese and all in white, but just pure love, pure love. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Try not to cry. I'm feeling blessed and grateful for the Abasoon sending me the mother that I had and sending me and directing me to Nana Yao and my beautiful family that I have now and children that I have that I'm raising in the culture. I love where I am. I wouldn't be anywhere else. I also wanted to mention that I was one of 2 priests that were the last 2 graduates of Nana Yao in 1990. So Madasi Kwesi and the committee for all that you do and for all these memories coming up. Okay, we have work to do, Madasi.
Thank you for sharing. Auntie Amaduna, are you going to speak? Are you okay? Where did she go? No? Okay, Nana Kofi. You have to unmute yourself, Nana.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Brother Frimpong raised a question about how things were back in the beginning. Nana Insia Opati was very correct, I think, in saying that it was divine intervention that brought us together. And there was not 2 separate paths at all. Minsa Wali was very politically active in New York, and he was a friend of Nana Dinizulu. Nana Dinizulu first often brought people to speak at the temple in New York who were from the quote unquote movement. And in my own path, I was a student at George Washington University. I became president of the Black People's Union there. And we decided to put on what we called Black is So Bad expose. So we went around DC to find Black businesses and presenters for the 2 days of programs we had. One of the presenters was Zorro's House of Africa, which participated in the fashion show that we had. That was run by Nana Kwabena Brown's family. And some of us began to spend time there, go to the shop and see what new things they had from the Congo or Ghana or Nigeria or wherever in Africa. And during the winter break in 1970-71, I got a phone call from Bob Brown about going to a Bimbe. He had asked about having a Bimbe at the building we had on campus, and I had asked him, well, what is a Bimbe? He said, well, there's drumming and there's dancing and there's food, you know. I said, oh yeah, we can do that. We can do that. So he called me up. It was a Sunday, and he asked if I wanted to go to the Bimbe. I said, well, sure. So he came, picked me up, took me over to 1501 T Street Southeast, which was Nana Kwabena Brown's family's house, still is today. And I didn't know what was going on. I was familiar with the African liberation movements on the continent and with some of the organizations in the US, but I had no idea about the cultural and spiritual aspect. So the Bimbe was held downstairs in the basement. I went down there. Baba Ngoma, who people in DC know very well as a drummer. He was there, and some of the other drummers, and with Nana Dini Zulu. And, you know, the drumming started, and we started dancing around. And I don't know what happened after that. That, I guess, was my first time being possessed. Now, I grew up in the AME African Methodist Episcopal Church, and some of the people there thought I was going to be a preacher. I had entirely different ideas. But after that experience, I wanted to find out more, and we started having meetings hosted by Nana Kwabena's family at the house here on T Street, and looking into various aspects of traditional culture. But the following day, when school opened up, I was walking back to school through Lafayette Park, and I felt something over here on this shoulder and something over here on that shoulder. And then this video started playing in front of me. I had never had an experience like that before, any kind of visions or dreams or whatnot. And I'm walking through Lafayette Park in the middle of Washington, DC, and I'm seeing a vision of a village or town being raided in Africa and people being taken away, and hearing a voice say, "This is your first ancestor that came to America." So I definitely had to find out more about this. And that was how I got in. It was just, it was divine intervention, because it was not a path I was seeking to follow. And when the trip came up in 1971 to go to Africa, Ghana in particular, I had to go. I had to go, and it was divine intervention that helped me as a struggling student raise the money. I was also trying to feed my daughter and keep a roof over our heads. And I landed in Ghana with $150, $120 for room and board, and $30 for whatever I might want to purchase. And it was an amazing experience to be there at Latte, to see the training, to get training as an Abrafo, to see Nana Aperabia possess over and over again at the crack of dawn in the morning. It was amazing. And that was in 1971. I was put under as a priest in 1972 to Obo Kwesi, and I would not be anywhere else. But all of us have not had it easy with our families when it comes to accepting this. Took 2 or 3 decades before my mother would call me Kofi. And my father asked me about my name. He said, well, what's wrong with your name? I said, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it at all. But our ancestors didn't know. That had been taken away from them. They didn't know their real names. And that's why I'm doing this. And he accepted that, but it took mother about 20 years before she would call me Kofi. But she has accepted it and come to peace with it now after seeing how good it has been for my family. My daughter, Afua Badu, is also an Akomfo, and her daughter, the late Ya Abajua Akomfo Enyo, became a priest. And it's been good. It's been good. It's a blessing. And there is no division between the political and the spiritual. It's all one thing. It's all part of our liberation, as Nana Dini Zulu would talk about, the redemption and uplift of our people. We have to pursue all those parts. We have to pursue all those parts. The way the legal structure is here, your political organization has to be separate from your religious organization. But the work is one. Medasi.
Medasi for sharing, Nana Kofi. I see Auntie Omadoon. Oh, she's back. Yay, there she is. Okay. And then after Auntie Omadoon speaks, we want to ask if any of the other elders want to share their experiences as well. And then we'll open it back up to everyone else, okay? Okay. Auntie Omadoon, you have to unmute.
Yes. Greetings, everyone. Blessings and all. Just want to share a real short story about my introduction to the culture and to Nana Yao Deni Zulu I. So I have to give initial credit to Nana Aci Deni Zulu, who we lived in the same neighborhood, sort of in Brooklyn. And Nana AC was known in the area. Number one, she had one of the flyest fros around. She had the regal walk, and she wore 72,000 silver bangles on her wrist. So I thought that was like the most wonderful thing I had ever seen. So in getting to know her, she invited me to a dance class out in when we're in Long Island City, I think, or Queensbridge. Anyway, we used to have, Nana would have the classes down in the basement of the complex. And when I first, I don't know, I saw them perform first because I saw them perform at World's Fair and all. And I had never seen African dance like that. The interpretation, the movements, the pride in what you saw, because it was Nana AC, Auntie Newman Tim, Afiba Howard, who's no longer, it was so many, but it was so beautiful. So anyway, so I met Nana AC, and then I went to the dance classes, and then I was introduced to, when at that time we had bimbes, and had bimbes on the full moon every month on a Saturday. And on Sunday mornings when we left out, thank God it was New York, because you could go home on the subway and no one looked at you because it's 11 o'clock in the morning, you had powder and stuff all over you. Folks kind of looked at you and just kept going. I was put into training as a Nana AC Ketua priest by Nana Yao, the first time by Nana Yao. And I was young and didn't really understand the beauty and significance of it. And I'll have to admit, I was a little disappointed because everyone else was going under to Nana surgery. And at that time, the knowledge that I could retain and remember is I thought of Nana AC Ketua as this old woman. I'm thinking I was like maybe 17 at that time, maybe 16, I think. I was like, why you put me under this old woman? Everybody else got a surgery, he's all fly and dancing and stuff. But when I left, one of the things that anybody who has left and come back realized is that yes, we do. I'm on Chroma. that you can leave the religion and culture for a while, but you will always come back. That medicine and that spirit is with you always. I left for 25 years, and I can remember when I was coming back into the culture and trying to find out, where did I go? Where did I belong? Nana Kwabena Brown had a festival, Tika Day Festival, and the bus pulled in from New York, and I hadn't seen Nana AC in like 20 something years. And Nana AC, Nana Adjoa, they all came in, and I have to say with pride, everybody went down and kowtowed to them. Okay, they acknowledged the seniority of these beautiful women priests that came in, and it was my whole thing that I just said, I want to go home. And I remember I kept telling people, I want to go home. So I was blessed to be able to come back with my initial teacher, mentor, example for us all. And I said, I honor and I respect Nana AC, Nana Adjoa, Nana NC, because they are Auntie Bakai, Auntie Inyo, because they have stayed the course for over 50 years. I'm 68. So they have stayed this course. They have not wavered from it. They have set the perfect example for all of us, even though I'm a truly Friday child, so I'm very wayward. But they know where my heart is. And I remember when I decided to go back into training and had to start from the beginning, it was okay. It was okay. So I'm open, so that was, and Nana Yao, one of the things I can remember him about our classes was his laugh. He had the most infectious laugh that just made you want to laugh, or you definitely couldn't help but smile. His dedication to the culture and the religion, again, he set the example for all of us that came behind him, because he never wavered. And the people who walk in his footsteps, because we all walk in his footsteps. He is the beginning of the Akan culture and religion here. Okay, if it wasn't for him, I doubt if it would ever been here. So I give him honor and praise first and foremost. I honor my nanas, Nana AC and Nana Adjoa, because those women have never strayed from the course. So, and I remember black beans and saffron rice at the Cuban restaurant. And, those times we went from class and we would go get something to eat. So I think that with the culture and the religion as it is now, and how it has remained as it is, and then Nana Yao, he is the roots of it, and how we are all just branches from that great tree, and I think that we can stand proudly and we honor him and honor the women who have stayed the course for us, who are our examples. And yes, I have my bangles, and stayed the course. And I just give thanks. I said, with all of my Fridayness, I give thanks, and I'm honored to be a part of it. And I'm grateful for this Akom Kese that we get to share it again.
Medasi for sharing, Medasi. Do we have any of our elders who would also like to share? We have quite a few online. I'm not going to shout you out because y'all know I would do it. But any of our elders who would like to share?
I'll share a short story. So we all have our paths to Akom, and I do agree with the fact that it was definitely divine intervention. And in our lives, we realize that so many people are put on our path that'll lead us to that direction, even when we don't know it. So when I was in the 60s, I was kind of too young to know what was going on. But when I got older, when I was in my 20s, I had a mentor. His name was Baba Kibogoyo Sijafa Kwanzaa. And everybody was learning, yes, you know him. Everybody was learning Kiswahili because that was our way of connecting. And I started to search. My family's Jamaican. I wanted to know what my ancestors practiced, and I had no clue. And he helped me. And he introduced me to Baba Ishangi. And he took me to his house, and he had an Akom there. And I'm like, I like this, but this is too far away. I don't even know where I went. But all I knew, it was far. And I'm like, I can't come out here by myself. I then moved to Washington, D.C., when I moved to Washington, D.C., my son was in Watoto Shule, I think was the name of the school.
Yeah.
And yeah, was that correct?
Mhm.
Okay. And I was also, just to digress a little bit, I was a dancer and I danced for many, many years. And the drummers for my dance class were Kimati Denizulu. I knew him since I was about 14 or 15 years old, and Mensa Dente, who I also knew since I was about 14 or 15 years old. So when I went to Washington, D.C., and I kept saying, I need a dance class, I was invited to a dance class, to a Akom, didn't know it was an Akom at the time. And when I went to the Akom, I saw Nana Kimati, and I saw Mensa, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And they said, well, what are you doing here? And that's how I realized. Then Nana Kimati told me his father was Nana Yao Paridini Zulu. And I felt safe. I felt safe because I saw two people that I had known since I was young in a place that I was totally unfamiliar with. And because I knew them, I stayed. And once I stayed, I was hooked. I felt like I was home. I felt like this is it. This is what I've been looking for. And I've never left. So that's my little short story of how I got involved with the Akan culture.
That's for sharing. Any of our esteemed elders, the first and second and third group, we see you here. Anybody else want to share their stories with us?
So, Pacha, one of the things that I would like, because we really don't know a lot about Nana Queer Parabia, and there's people here in the room on this chat who actually has some direct connections with her. So in 1971, I was 3 years old. So when she first came here, and I know she came here subsequent after that, but I never met her. I think I might have got a glimpse of her and just really didn't know who she was. So I would really like to hear some of those stories, like, how was she as a person? We understand how she was as a priest based on the historical record of what's been left behind. But as a person, like, how was she? I mean, I can talk about Nana Yao because I was at his house chilling with the boys, playing and being a young man. But for Nana Quia, really don't know about her in terms of a person. So if there's anyone that's on this can speak to that in terms of knowing her personally, that would really be helpful to contextualize her as a person and not just as a great priest.
We have some people who know her on this call. Yes, we do.
Hi, this is Auntie Ansa again. When I met her, she was like bigger than life. And she had a presence about her that was, say, larger than life, And when, of course, the time that I met her, she was sitting on Nana's porch and Nana was there. And we all, kowtowed and greeted her. But she had a presence about her that was just, like I said, larger than life. And she was a stately woman. She wasn't a small woman. She was a stately woman. And she had a very warm, how can you say, a warm face about her. And that's what I remember, about her, that she had this presence that was basically larger than life.
Thank you for sharing.
I can share a few things. While I was in training, I had the opportunity of meeting her a number of times. I'll share one particular story. One time she was in Washington, D.C., and a number of us decided that it would be great for her to go down to the Smithsonian to see this slavery exhibit. So a friend of mine worked at the Smithsonian, so I arranged for him to give her a personal tour of this exhibit. And so the day came, and we were scheduled to be there, I think at like 11 o'clock in the morning. And so we're all looking at our watches, you know, like, okay, we're gonna get ready to go at a certain amount of time so we can arrive there in time, park our cars and meet this person. And we were obsessed with looking at our watches, you know, like, oh, it's 10 o'clock, we need to get ready. So we asked Nana Parabia, you know, like, well, we're gonna start preparing to leave now. She just like looked at us and like said, you know, like she wasn't paying us any mind, you know, no attention at all. And so when 11 o'clock came, we were all nervous, like we're running late, we're gonna miss our appointment. You know, we were preoccupied, as I said, with looking at our watches, and she wasn't budging, you know. Finally, around 1 o'clock, she started getting ready, and we got in our cars. 1 o'clock now, 2 hours, quote unquote, late. Finally, we got in our cars, went down there and pulled up, and the guy was standing right there. And he said, oh, I was delayed, you know, coming from West Virginia to be here, you know, to meet you. And, you know, all of us were in the dark except for Nana Parabia, because she's always in tune and on time. In reality, you know, we're preoccupied with our watches, but she knew what was really going on. So we arrived there perfectly on time due to her being attuned. And so finally, when we went into the exhibit, I remember the person who was giving the guide explaining how our ancestors were packed into the bowels of these slave ships. I think that was the first time that was explained to her, and she was shown the pictures of, you know, what took place. And I'll never forget the expression on her face of disdain and you know, for what happened to our ancestors. I mean, she was fully aware of slavery, but I'll just never forget her facial expression of disdain when she saw how we were, like, you know, jammed to the bottoms of these ships.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
We have two more hands that are raised, Nana Abena Nayo and Auntie Afua Raleigh Ajapon. So Nana Abena can go first.
I don't know, Paucho. I greet everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. The first time I met Nana Parabia, I had already traveled to Ghana. And so in my first trip of going to several countries in Africa, Ghana being one of them, and actually being at my family shrine, I already knew about the Ghana face, right? There's this face when people are sitting in state and they always look so serious. And so I remember meeting Nana Parabia. She was at Nana Nsia's house in Brooklyn and staying, and they had some big festival that had happened at the African Sheep Festival. And I was back at the house and she was there. And I remember experiencing her without the Ghana face. And she was smiling and she was laughing and she was so thankful for everything that you did for her. And I remember trying to understand the things that she was communicating as she was talking to me and other people that were in the place. And what resonated for me was the fact that she was a whole person, not just this political figure who had very important responsibilities, but she had also a very human side to her. And she, while she didn't have a lot to give, she tried to make sure that her interactions with people were going to be impactful, and you were left with a positive feeling when you were dealing with her on an individual basis. And, you know, I was very thankful for that experience.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Auntie Afua Achapon.
Greetings. I just wanted to share a quick story. Like, I get nervous, I talk real fast, so I'm trying to slow down so I can remember my thoughts. But I was remembering when, and I think it was the beginning of Basum Jamawaji and our initiation into Basum Jamawaji. And the energy was so powerful with all of the offerings made, the sacrifices, the incense, I mean, everything. And something happened where the police showed up. And so here you have people possessed and, you know, all of this going on. Nana Yao Denizulu, he got up very calmly, went over to them, talked to them, and they left. I mean, they didn't say one thing, to us anyway, or like, you know, what's going on here, turn on the lights. Nana had complete control of it. The Abbasoon had complete control of it. And the ceremony went on and the policemen left. And it just showed, you know, how he didn't have to act larger than life. His energy with the Abbasoon and then Samako, you know, behind him and guiding him was all the energy that he needed. And I will never forget that because the ceremony never missed a beat. The only difference was you just saw him walk out, the police walk out, and him walk back on, and everything kept going.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Auntie Akuya.
Hi, thank you. I get a little nervous too and talk and, you know, get mixed up and stuff, but I met Nana Akuya Anima on 2 occasions. I went to Ghana in 2001 with Nana Bakan out of Brooklyn. And it was interesting to see how their, what do I want to say? I guess how the location was set up and how the priest sat here and the drummers were here and the dignitaries were here, and when they did different baths and things. So I saw that she had, I guess, status there that I didn't know, because you couldn't tell because everybody looked like they was dressed the same, but you could see how people approached her. And then back here in the US, when she came over to visit in New York, and I was with Nana Bakan again in Brooklyn, and how her Ochami was introducing and stating, you know, translating what we said to her so she could understand what we were saying. And I just had to accept that she is very strong, and she was yet still approachable, but I just knew I had to come correct. So I had to be sure of what I was coming for, what my mission was. So it was very, had to make you think about what you're going to do instead of just doing any old kind of thing. So it was very, very emotional. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for everybody for sharing. It is 11:57. So we're going to end this session. So we want to again say Madasi to all of our speakers for taking the time to share with us. I believe this has been a very, very powerful session in terms of putting a lot of historical information on the record that can be passed on for generations, and then clearing up any misconceptions that might have or might exist. We have another session at 1 o'clock, which will be with Nana Kofi Ofori. This session is a presentation on the stool history. It is for priests, Abosumfo, and like shrine initiates only. So you are welcome to attend this session. And then after that, we will have a session at 2 o'clock, which you are welcome to join with the same link, which really speaks to the experiences you've had as in the con and the challenges that you faced in terms of con practice and how you've integrated and what successes you've had and what obstacles you had to overcome. So we look forward to participation in that session as well. So at this time, we're going to break. And if there's anyone that would like to make any comments before we leave, you are welcome to do so.
Very good job by the organizers. I commend you for your work and thank you. Madasi.
Thank you. Okay, then we will see you at 1 o'clock for Nana Kofi Ofori's presentation.